Hello, Mr. Hildebrandt. How are you today, sir?
Greetings. I'm fine. How are you doing?
I am doing well. I am doing well.
This, yes.
Before we have anyone in the house here with us today, we'll do our uh, financials, so to speak, right?
Okay.
Get that going and off of the table. So, so far you are. We last week we recapped that you are doing the remarks for anyone that has ordered their Marvel books.
Yes,
All of those remarks are now being shipped, correct?
that's right. I've done several already.
Yeah, all of the Red Sonja stuff, we recapped that. It is all now back out of your hands, with the exception of the sketch covers, I believe. And they're back on their way to be graded at CGC and to do
Exactly.
all that stuff.
Yep.
So, all these people that have been buying the new product that's coming out, they should all have it in their hands relatively soon, right?
Right. Absolutely. As fast as
Fantastic.
the delivery services can get there.
Right? Which that's out of your hands,
That's way out of my.
unless you control
No.
UPS as well,
No.
right?
I'm trying to control this universe that I'm painting. I can't control that one. This may appear to
Or
be a. This may appear to be a painting of me blowing my lid, but
that's
actually it's not.
that's what when you were sitting there. Yeah, it looked like some kind of
Right.
coming out of the top of your head.
It's actually a painting, a commission I'm doing for Hit Point Press, and that's as
Right.
much as I can talk about it. But the idea is that space is somehow is being sucked, at time is being sucked into this vortex. That's kind of like basically it. So it's a time space thing,
Okay.
which led me to my remembrances of a particular quote of Albert Einstein, which I always like, which is
Let's
very
hear it.
enigmatic, as it were. Time and space are modes by which we think and not conditions in which we live. The distinction between past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion.
Hmm.
I always found that very, what the hell is he talking about? Kind of.
I think most people, when he said things, probably found themselves in a position of saying, "What the hell is he talking about?"
But I mean, there's something about time and space are modes by which we think and not. So he's saying it's not real,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah, because we're always in the here and now,
but I mean, in the idea
but we
that
live in the past or live in the future in our brain.
past, present, and future are only a stubbornly persistent illusion.
Mm.
Because yeah, I kind of in a way abstract, distant, vague, through a glass darkly way, kind of grasp that. Like in other words, time is like a tapestry to me. There's no
Yeah.
like, well, that happened 50 years ago, so we don't have to think about that anymore. Screw that. 1,000 years ago, 10,000 years, 100,000 years ago, right? It's like it's all woven together, really, in a way. You know,
Yes.
so everything affects everything. I kind of get that, sort of. I mean, anyway,
Yeah.
this,
I got to
this,
think on it.
yeah,
So this is the painting that you're going to be working on here for the next hour that we're together.
yeah,
So I'm gonna so right off the bat, I want to ask you a question. So when you get the assignment from Hit Point,
yep.
right? Not talking, contracts and things like that, but in what way do they communicate to you like what they're looking for? Like what is the
Well, mainly they communicate it to Gene, and
well,
then
yeah.
Gene communicates it to me. So there's kind of like a sequence of events there, and I kind of, Gene will talk with the editor or publisher, art director, whoever,
Yep.
you know, uh, and discuss it with them. Really work it out very well, because she, we've been working together for so long. She knows exactly what to do and how to ask the questions and what we're after and what I have to know and that in the first, number one, Clay, what's it for? What's the subject? What are the parameters? What are the distinctions? Well, this is for a hit point product. It's going to be a box, so it's a design for a box, a painting for a box. The key image of this box lies within this realm, a square right here. So that's on the cover of the box. The rest of this folds around.
Yeah.
So I had to lay out. I had to define this area first, get the elements in there, this space and being drawn into this vortex kind of like thing, and then I had one talk with them with the who's the art director, Jane, or what is he?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter, she said. I had one talk with him, like in
Hang
terms
on 1 second, Greg. Before you go forward.
Yep.
Before you go forward. So before you have this conversation, though, you get it, and do you get like a one sentence of, "Hey, we want this. We want a red circular vortex with the green, blue, and magenta rainbows and planets flying into it." Do you get that clear of a description?
Not in the
Or do
least.
you get a
No.
vague description, or what kind of description are you getting?
Oh, the description that I got was space time being drawn into a vortex. That's all I got, and a figure.
Okay.
There's a figure, a male figure here, position. That's all. They didn't say stars, planets. They didn't say color. I then start to think about. I start to draw it. I lay it out. Boom, boom, boom. Which is pretty fast. I mean, the composition. There's a vortex. Everything's being drawn into this point here. Then I'm thinking through, well, what's the distinction of these two zones? And I think, well, cool, warm. The
Yep.
cool colors, the warm colors, basically.
All right.
And then I had a discussion with the gentleman, handling this project at Hit Point, and I said, that's what I'm thinking. Cool colors, warm colors. He said, good, fine. I'm glad I'm thinking you already got that. Then I start to draw it. I start to just draw images, positioning the figure, positioning all the planets, and start in really quick, and then I got a whole bunch of, from the internet's space reference and all kinds of, black hole stuff and many images. Not that I'm copying any one of them at all. I'm using them as a kind of a point of departure thing. So then
a visual library, just
Yeah.
inform.
and I start to do it's like I painted this with a really big brush to start off with, whoa, just to get the movement of all these, so it isn't just a static thing, but you get all the effect of all this stuff being pulled in, which I'm still developing and working on.
Yeah.
Still getting more squiggles and stuff going on,
Yep.
And then we talked the other day, and you were reminding me or telling me that if this is a black hole it is sucked in, everything starts to stretch out. Well, I can't really. I'm kind of like trying to indicate stretching here by movement lines, but when it gets here, they're being pulled down. You can see longer shapes because I don't want to distort this all too much out here. You know what I mean?
Yes.
If it gets too distorted,
Yeah, because then Yep.
you'll see these things. You want to see planets, or at least in my thinking, I want to see, as a design, I want to see these circular forms. So you really know what they are.
Yep. So
And
hey,
then-
before you go on, Greg, we got some people watching. We have let's see, I can't see his name. It scrolled up. I think Walter from Argentina saying hello.
Hi, Walter.
PTO and PC. Okay, can't read the name. From Scotland, Elijah. Got I kissed a lady 200. So people are chiming in saying hello from all over the world now.
Cool. That's nice.
And I kissed a lady 200 asks, does Greg have any tips on how to see values in highly saturated colors?
Tips on how to see values?
How to see values in highly saturated colors.
Well, these are all saturated colors. I mean, how to see the value? Well, I mean, that's you. I'm not. The question's not clear to me. Can you
Okay,
grasp?
so if I kissed a lady 200 is still on and listening, is there any way that you can rephrase that? When you mean see values, are you talking about like distinguishing values between the saturated colors, or maybe rephrase that in just a different kind of way so we can get exactly what you're meaning? All right. So I'll let you know if they chime back in, Greg, so you can
Yeah, all right.
move on. All right. So yeah, go ahead. They haven't chimed back in.
All right. What the
So
hell? I mean, uh, okay, what should we do? Just start painting this thing? Here's my
yeah,
here's
sorry.
here's my palette for the basic greens and blues on this. See, it's all mixed up on this sheet. That's all wet paint. Talking about the values, you see this is the value range of the cool range. I start with cadmium yellow, light with white in it. Then I move through a permanent green with a bit of white in it. Stepping down though in values, this you can see they step down, gradually getting darker and darker and darker. But it's going through the color wheel. You're basically moving through the color wheel here. In other words, through the prism. Yellow, green, blue, green, red, green, ultramarine, then purple finally. See what I'm saying? So that's the
Yep.
range here of all the so-called the cool colors. Even though yellow is not necessarily a cool color. But the
Yeah,
big,
here's an answer for Sean Wolf. Greg uses acrylics, Sean.
yeah, it dries fast, and you can smear it, wet your fingers and smear it, like that kind of stuff. Can you see that there? You know,
Yep.
uh,
So what are you doing when you're licking that a little bit and dragging it? What are you doing?
smearing the paint. You know what I mean? Because I want the movement of all this stuff. See
Yep.
that effect. But you see the these are all stars. But you see the bright hit point of the star is on the tail end, which I'm making a mistake here. You see,
Yep.
so-called. There's the point, but it's being pulled this way. You see, so the
Yes.
brightest spot is here, and then it trails off that way, as opposed to like a meteor. If you were painting it coming in, you'd have the ball of fire and the trail behind it. Here, it's all flipping around because it's being sucked into this vortex.
Yes.
You know
Okay.
what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
Is that clear? Kind of.
Yes. You're reversing. If you're drawing a meteor or something like that with a speed line, it's
Right.
usually indicating the direction of it going. Like the tail is usually coming off behind
Right.
the object. But in this instance, because it's being sucked into the vortex, it's pulling the light in front of it. So the
Right.
object is actually getting pulled rather
Right.
than uh, projecting forward.
Yeah, that's the same way when you paint the Enterprise going at the warp speed. Everything's reversed. The stars are all the opposite direction. You know.
Yep. Yep.
Whenever you paint the Enterprise, you know what I'm saying.
Yes.
We all do that daily, I'm sure, right?
Yeah. So I kissed the ladies, just chimed back in, and they've converted your paintings from full color to black and white, and they noticed that they still work perfectly,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, because that's
And then so then
it.
okay, I think I get where they're going. So they were wondering if you have any tips on painting with values with the color. So anyway,
Yeah,
go
you're
ahead.
making sure that when you mix your values up, let's say you start with the highest bright color is white. That's titanium white. I mean, you can't get any whiter than that. I mean, in terms of, you know, opaque. And then the next color is yellow, cadmium yellow. I'm using on this cadmium yellow light. Then the next color is cadmium yellow medium. Now I'm adding a touch of white in there because I don't want it out of the tube chroma on this. I wanted a little bit of white in it. But when you're mixing the color on a palette, you're simply making sure that they step down in value. It's an eyeball thing, like the grayscale. you mix your next value and you step down. You mix your next value, you step down. You mix your next value, you step down. You make sure that you kind of eyeball them in even increments. You don't make a big leap to the next value. You do it systematically, step by step, evenly, from light to dark. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
And the way that I generally work that with this, the main color of this green and blue is the permanent green light in the middle.
Okay.
You see, it's here in the middle. Then it moves towards the highlight. Then it moves towards the dark. So and those are all even steps. It's just an eye. You make sure you mix them, stepping down evenly from your highlight to your shadow or darkest area, from your lightest area to the darkest area, because there's no light or shadow here in the space stuff. It's just light to dark. Here it's light to shadow on these planets, which I'm basically lighting. What?
I'm going to ask you this question, Greg. So as you're painting there, because we can't zoom in on your painting, but like in that foreground planet, right? You have the darks and the light lights. So even in those areas, are you putting a super dark right next to your brightest light, or even in those small areas, is there a color transition?
There's a transition here. You mean from the hot, to the cold,
yep.
to the dark? Yeah, no, there's a transition. It's this It's this stuff here. It's yellow to cadmium red light to cadmium red medium to magenta mixed in. I take the pile of cadmium red medium. I mix a lot of it. I put half of it in the next pile, then squeeze magenta into it. I don't want to leap to the straight magenta because it's too extreme. I want to keep it magenta-ish. You get me?
Yes.
So, and that's what this is here. And that goes right into basically dioxazine purple with ultramarine in it here.
Yep.
So, yeah, there's
and even with going back to their thing with your work working in black and white and in color, that's also due in large part to the composition and things like that, right? You when you're planning it all out,
right, light against dark, dark against light.
Yeah.
Light against dark, dark against light is an issue to make everything read, so that all the values don't merge together. There may be times that you want all your values to merge together, a foggy picture or whatever. But in this kind of a thing, I want high contrast in terms of color and value. Just whether that's right or wrong or any, I don't know. That's what I thought I want to handle this like, It's got nothing to do. This is not really, to me in my mind, trying to reflect the way space really looks, even though I look at all these Hubble telescope shots as a point of inspiration. This is more stylistic handling of space.
Yeah.
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 Much more colorful. A lot of color.
Sci-fi fantasy art, so it's
comic book sci-fi fantasy art.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby. I don't know.
Crank it up, right?
Yep. Just come on. It's for a particular subject that is in that realm. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
The client.
Yep. So, yeah, man.
I'll try. I'll keep putzing around. Just keep talking.
Yeah, cool. Now, you're laying that figure in right now.
Yeah.
And right now it's setting in the green, in the green blues.
Right.
I know you're just starting to put them in.
Yep.
Do you want that figure? Is it ultimately going to pop?
Yeah, I'm gonna get the rim light, which it's basically all rim lighting. You see, his body is all the color of the environment. He's not got any, I've not mixed up any color for him that's different than what you're looking at in this whole picture. So I'll keep I'm imagining, see all this green light on the planets, and that's all coming from this realm right here, from this zone in my mind. See, It's going that way. And I'm trying to not like this with red because that's a separate reality out there. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So we're still
Okay.
in this reality here. So everything will be lit with the greenish, and but building up to uh, cadmium yellow light with white in it. And I think for final hits on him, just ticks like that, little tiny thing, I'll probably come up to this almost white, almost straight white. And then I mix these other various back colors. Wait a minute, where the hell is it? You know, you position some stars around like this one here intentionally after I put the figure in so that I can get a rim light, you know, on his head, you know, his back and all that stuff, and arms and everything. You see? You just kind of
Yes.
so that defines that. And then I'm going to get these stars bigger. They're more of a almost whitish color. Those stars. Excuse me while I clump through my paint here. I'm fine. I keep these paints in Tupperware containers, which keeps the acrylic wet, you know, or sort of whatever these containers are, you know, they're airtight.
And that was aluminum foil you spread your paints
Yeah.
on, right?
Yeah. So and then you know, you get this up. And this is an
This
easy.
in and of itself.
What's that?
Sorry, I just talked over.
No,
I
that's all right.
started to talk over. Go ahead.
No, well, this figure is it's very stylistic, you know, and it's so I mean I didn't pose a model. I mean these things work fantastically well. I can give it away. Those plastic figures. Look at that guy. You pose these little models and light them right. It's like there it is. I mean the connections are you know the where the joints are. You gotta know what the hell is going on and how to fake that. But it's good for this kind of thing. They're great. You know.
Yeah. It's an interesting break in your normal thought process of where the light sources are coming from. You still have to apply that to make the image work, even though the physics of what would actually be happening would alter that, right?
Yeah.
You know, because if all of the stuff's getting sucked into the vortex, if the light is, I guess we'll
yeah.
say that the vortex is not quite as strong as a black hole.
Right.
It's just a vortex, so that the light can still bounce off of him and exist,
Yeah.
rather than making a black image.
I mean, the thing about this is, it's not a documentary. This is not for a science journal. This is what you call science fiction. You know?
Yes.
Which is the fun part of it. You know, you can kind of go to science and then do what the hell you want. It's still got to look like it works somehow. Right?
Yeah.
It has to be believable. You know, you have to, you know, whatever. But is it starting to read better?
Oh, yeah.
You know, just it's about increasing the edge light. Like I've talked about this a lot. A rim light to me is really critical. I love it. You know, it really makes the things register and read and stand out, and it gives you shape and everything. You know.
Yes, it helps define the volume.
Yeah.
Of the object. Yeah. Now, with this painting, do you have to take into consideration any kind of text or anything like that?
Nobody gave me anything, no. So that I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe, and I'm not sure. Do you know? What? Is there any copy that goes on this? Gene doesn't know. Whatever.
All right.
Yes.
We would assume yes.
Yes.
Seeing it's for a box design, you know.
Yeah. So Carrie Sue wants to know what kind of canvas are you working on?
Frederick
Frederick?
portrait they call it. It's their finest weave, and it's
Okay.
pre gessoed, so it's gessoed
Okay.
white. And if you want to really get it smooth, I didn't do anything on this picture on this canvas, but if you want to get it smooth, you know, you can get a refiner, just sand it down before you start to paint, and it becomes, you know, very very smooth. For if you want to get tight little areas, you know, it's great. Canvas work. I used to work strictly on Duron board. Before that, masonite. Duron is like a high quality masonite wood panel,
Okay.
and I used to work strictly on that. And also, I used to work strictly. I think we talked about this before on a white surface. You know,
Yes.
I
Yeah.
would have never painted the canvas black. And this I
So
painted.
yeah, that's when you did you put the black ground down on this?
Yeah. So the
Okay.
space is all there already. You know, and you know you mix. What I do is I take the canvas, cut it to size, after all the measurements and everything, and then I put 2 coats very thin of Mars Black with the big, you know, house painting brush. Smear it, wait till those dry. Then I put 2 coats of Doxazine Purple, which is a really, really, really deep purple. And so you end up with, you know, these dark areas, you know. And the whole canvas is that color. So then I mix up these values. I mixed up all the values here, and I mixed up all the values here. And the first thing I painted was that. I just simply put white on the canvas. So you put white on that black canvas, it's lit. You know you got your darkest
Yeah.
dark in there already. So and especially for space paintings, it's perfect. You know, and then you just
Yeah.
start smear your color on. You got to make sure that it's opaque. Some of it's washed, and that's fine, but you got to make sure, like this deep ultramarine blues here, are solid on the black, or else it won't be as strong as the color as that. It'll get too settled out or grayed down. So you know, if I put that, I work it in a sequence of values with these. I first put, I imagine the canvas is all this color black. The next thing I smear on, this is ultramarine blue and white, right here.
Mhm.
That's the color I put on here. Big swatches of it, just getting the placement and movement. You want, you know, do it real fast and abstracted, like you're painting an abstract, you know, just to get the shapes and everything.
Mhm.
Wait till that dries. Then I take the next value, which is a lighter step up value, which is phthalocyanine blue and white, which is a yellower blue. That's moving because
Okay.
we're moving towards yellow. And then I smear that on, in less of it though, in the center of the blue area, the darker blue areas. I put these, then I start to jiggle it out and just, you know, get it. It's a feeling thing until I finally build up to the lightest value where I'm going on the surface, you know. But you see, it's light over dark, light over dark, light over dark.
Gotcha. So it's the essentially the same concept that you were working on the blackboard last week,
Yeah,
but
same,
now you've
same,
just applied color. Right?
same thinking. Right. It's only with color now. Same
Yeah.
thinking. You're just moving through value. That's what I say. Mixing up. I mean, I figure all my colors out before I ever start putting them up here. A lot of people paint, I guess, figuring out color as they go. I don't. I couldn't even. I wouldn't know what the hell to do. You know, I have to figure out. I have to get it all straight, work it all out, think it all through, squeeze the paint out, knowing exactly what you're doing from light to dark, in the sequence of colors. I lay all the paint cans or jars or tubes out in a row, you know, like you're moving chess pieces around to get from, you know, I'm going to go from that to that to that to that. And you take it, and then you squeeze out it, you put how much white you want in it, then you start to mix your values all up. And it's all on a palette before I ever start to paint. Now it's a matter of getting all that stuff on those aluminum foils up here in the right order.
Yeah. So
Basically,
this is
it's
just
what.
a technical palette question. Um, do you mix enough paint right off the bat that you know will take you through the entire painting?
Yeah, I've got after years of experience of running out of the color. There's nothing worse than trying to match that exact value in color all over again. It's just
Yeah.
a pain in the butt. So I make sure that I mix a lot of paint up. I don't waste it because I save them in these things. You can keep this working for a year. Just open it up once in a while, hit it with water, and I'll use colors. I'm using colors that I've painted maybe 5 paintings ago. You know,
Oh wow. Okay.
so you just save the colors and you reuse them. So, but yeah, I mix up a lot more than what I know I'm going to be using on this. It's not it, it's not worth running out of the color. It's
And that probably also helps working like if you've got to go back and make any kind of changes or anything
Oh,
like
absolutely. There
that.
you go. Yes,
There's you're not
that's
photoshopping anything here.
no,
It's,
no. That you're right about that, Keith. That's critical. Keeping the color alive and well until the whole job is finished, because that happens
yeah.
many times. Go back and add, change something, whatever. Yeah. So, and it may happen with this. You know, I don't know. We'll see.
Who knows? So what area are you going? I see you move around. You put a little paint on the
Yeah.
guy. You smear down through. Do you typically work around the canvas or
Yeah.
do you work one area up? How do you?
No, I like to jump around. I'll stand back. I'll get back on my drawing board, 10 feet, 15 feet away, and I'll stare at it, you know, and just think it through and see, and then come over here and add move some of this movement. I said, you know, say this wasn't here a little while ago. So I'm staring and
Yeah.
saying, I like these things, this kind of swirling. You want to get as much motion in all this stuff as you can. You don't want to overdo it, but you want to get more. So then I'll come and I'll work on that, and then I'll hit it roughly, leave it alone, and then move on to something else. Wherever it's fun just to move all over the place.
Got you. Um, got another question. Do you use any kind of mediums with your paints, or you use straight
No,
water?
just water. I tried. I tried some of the the gel kind of stuff to extend drying time years
Hmm.
ago. I tried it, and I painted some pictures, some of the pinups that I was doing, and it was just too weird to work. I couldn't get used to the consistency of it. It was too jelly like, you know. You get used to a
Okay.
certain quality of paint that you're dealing with, of the flow of it and everything, and I couldn't handle it, so I didn't use it. Just water, and I dry brush stuff like this. That's dry brush more, you know, smear it around.
We get a good question here from Alan Trimmer. Does your current emotional state when you're painting ever affect the piece of art you're working on?
Not this kind of stuff. Maybe if it was personal painting, yeah. But this is a job. It's got nothing to
Yeah.
do with that kind of emotion. I mean, I love doing it. I mean, it's fun. I love it. It's like to turn on the use of color and shapes and movement. But no, I mean, you go click and you go to work. You leave your shoes at the door. I learned that at Jam Handy's in Detroit, the animation studio. When I came in, there was complaining about something at home, and the guy says, one of the animators says, "Leave your shoes at the door. This a workspace." So that's kind of like it. You go to work. You know, your Keith has left the planet. As far
Froze there for a bit,
no,
man. Can you
he's
hear me?
back. Did you get that?
I'm back.
Did you get what I said?
You froze in a very peculiar saying. You leave your shoes, and then I
When I was
froze.
working at Jam Handy's in Detroit, a kid starting at the animation studio where I'm from, Detroit, And I
Yep.
came in with some complaints one day, and one of the animators said to me, "Leave your shoes at the door." In other words, you don't bring personal stuff into the workspace. So no, I mean, there's no. I mean, this is a job. I this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You motion me in or in, definitely in many ways, to personal projects, obviously,
Yep.
and
And
all
you
kinds of
also,
levels.
yeah, in your describing how you work with, everything being pre-planned, your colors are all thought out,
Yep,
your compositions all worked out, the
yep,
drawing, the light source, everything
yep,
is all worked out.
yep.
Um, by the time you get to the actual applying of the paint, the creative process is almost not entirely complete, but almost.
Almost,
You
but
almost.
still,
So
eh, yeah. Go on.
so it's not like, you're not gonna like, oh, I'm cranky, and your painting's gonna inadvertently turn out darker, like like
No, no, no,
you added
no,
more blacks because
no, no. It's all
you've
been
already
figured
got it
out. I'm just, it's
the right
like I
color.
said, it's a matter of getting all that paint up here in the right order now.
Yes.
In a
So
sense, that's kind of like what it comes down to, and there's an enthusiasm of it still, because with all the pre-planning, with all the thinking and analyzing and structure that you go through, that I go through, now I get down to the actual paint. I'm still not sure whether it's going to work.
yeah,
As many
yeah,
pictures as you do, and I've done, there's never any knowledge that this is going to work. You've got a vision in your head of what you're heading towards, so you're kind of like
yeah,
you're heading towards the future in your mind of this thing that you want to
yeah,
complete, and you start to make these steps towards it, and you kind of see you're getting to where you want to be. But for me personally, by the time it gets to a certain point, it becomes more of a difficulty to get through that last few steps because it's all figured out already. It's
yeah,
working. Now, oh
yeah,
my God, I got to finish this thing. So then Jean will come over. She's in the way people ask, well, when do you call a painting done? And my answer is quite simply and factually, when Jean says it's done. So Jean will come over, and I'm in my mind, it's done. The thing's over. I've had it. It's over. There. On to the next thing. I don't want to think about this anymore. Jean will come over and say, wait. Da 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 da. Whatever. And I freak out. What? No. What? Calm down. See, oh, she's right. So I make those pushes into the right direction further, and
yeah,
then Jean comes. Look, maybe that happened 2 3 times sometimes, and because I'm tired of it. I've had it. It's over. It's all
yeah,
done in my mind. I think
yeah,
Alfred
yep.
Hitchcock used to say that, right? I mean, when he would do a film, he worked out everything in his head. He worked out he did his own storyboards, from what I understand. So the movie was made already. So to actually go on the set and do it now was a pain in the ass because it was all done in his
That's what I always say. I've already finished it. It's
head.
done in my head. But
Right. And
Adrian Wagner really wants your shirt. She said she would donate, I think, $100 to a charity of your cause. You have sold those shirts before, right? People
yeah,
have
Jane,
bought those
Jane,
out
Jane
for you.
sold them. Yeah, and a pair of pants too. I got paint on my pants,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah.
she called them Hilda pants
Build the pants.
or
Great.
something like whatever.
So,
Yeah, this is the apps.
Adrian,
This is the
contact Gene.
contact Gene. See, this is
Yeah,
sort of like that's got its own thing though, kind of, right?
it is. It is. There's history. There's history in the shirt.
Yeah, it's
It
got
is the past, present,
yeah.
and well, it's that's the Albert Einstein paintings. Like, you talked about the past, present, and the future.
Right. You cut out. You've left the planet again.
And Greg, just keep talking about your art.
Well, we'll keep talking about the art then. So, as I say, all these planets in the foreground. Well, they're not really in the foreground. Well, they are in the sense that there's the distance out there. I edge light them all first, with the mix of permanent green light with yellow light in it, cadmium yellow light in it, and cadmium yellow light highlight. You back? You back, Keith?
I'm back. I'm not in the picture frame, but I'm back.
Okay. I'm painting this planet here. I just started painting it. And this
I
will
was
be
I was talking about your painting shirt being the Albert Einstein
ah,
quote, in that it contains old paintings, this
there you
present
go.
painting, and since you save your paint
Future
for
painting.
future paintings, it also contains the future.
I like that. It's a timeless shirt. Would that be
Yes.
timeless or timely or the hell is that? So here I can put this kind of like edge light from that star on this, take the same colors there and put them there, which is Dioxazine purple is the mid range. Dioxazine purple is a great color for this particular setup because it's the middle color.
Yes.
It's purple is between blue and yellow, so that's the central color. And
Now, for the people, for everybody watching, you talk about dioxazine purple. Um, we know that it's a very dark purple. Is it? So this hopefully makes sense to everybody. Is it more of a red-based purple or more of a blue-based purple?
well, that's a good question. Never thought about that. I well, no, it's you can think of it both ways actually. When you're mixing, when you're going from the blue, green to blue to purple, you think of it as a red-based purple because you're heading towards red. See, in that breakdown, you're heading towards red. But if you mix it in the as the darkest color that you're heading to, if your main color is yellow, well, that's heading towards blue. So you know what I'm saying? So it's like it can be used both ways as a warm or a cool. It's in the
All
middle.
right, so it's a in the middle kind of
So
mix
you
of
move
purple.
it's the same shadow color. I've always thought of it since I discovered that color. Working on Urshrak, my novel with my brother. That's when we discovered the color, and we used it then on the Star Wars poster. First discovered it for our Urshrak paintings, and then we used it on the Star Wars poster, Dioxazine purple. And to me, it was a revelation just finding that color out. Like I say, I don't have a formal art education, much of one, a couple of months, several months, and never think about really color paint. So when we
Hmm.
discovered that color, it was like whoa, you know.
Yes.
See here, this little planet next to this bigger planet will have the same edge light from the green up there,
Hmm.
like that. So then that color bounces back, because it's like the moon of that planet, and you're on the dark side of that planet there, and that's a moon, and that's lighting up. That's lighting up that side of the planet, which is what happens to our moon. It's the sunlight's hitting a big rock out in space, and
Yep.
any light that we see come out of that moon is bounced light.
Yep.
And that's what that's that. So I mean,
So
painting fantasy like that, you got to grasp that kind of reality of physics and nature,
yes.
and apply it here, or else it doesn't
Yep.
come off as believable or real looking, if that's a word.
Yeah. 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 Because I mean, if you're used to seeing something naturally occurring all of the time, or a similar object occurring all of the time, and then you're looking at a painting of it and it does not resemble that,
Right.
it's just not going to look right.
It doesn't. Right. It doesn't look right. It just. It doesn't look right if what you're after is truth to nature.
Yeah.
If you're not after truth to nature and you're after something else, well, that's a whole different story. Right? I mean,
Yep.
it might be right for that in that context. But if you're after a truth to nature look, you gotta go by the laws of nature and light, the way light works in our nature.
Yep. Now, in doing this kind of painting where you have essentially every color of the rainbow going on,
Yeah, that's what
right? You have the color.
That's what I intended when I started it. I'm going through the color wheel, or the
Yep.
spectrum, or the prism.
Yep.
I want to go through the whole damn thing. Yeah. Anyway, go on.
So, and you, okay, I mean, you have your two clearly distinct zones, your cool zone and your warm zone.
Yep.
But you do have the warm colors coming out into the cools, into those greens and,
Yeah.
and purples. How do you keep that from getting muddy? How do you keep your colors from getting muddy?
Magenta and purple, and you make sure that you don't mix that magenta and purple with that green. That's where it'll turn to mud. You can have the purple go into the blue, into the ultramarine blue. You know what I'm saying?
So the purple goes into the blue, and then the blue goes into the green.
You're right. If you make a leap from one color and not go through that middle color, which is in the spectrum, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You have to
Yep.
follow the spectrum. That's all you got to do. Just look, get a color wheel or get the prism and look at the way the colors move, and make sure that you don't leap from one out of that don't go out of that sequence. That's the way you keep it from getting muddy. Because some landscape painting in the past, if you go from that sunset thing to the sky gets redder and then gets a little yellower, and people want to go into blue. Many times I've seen in the past where certain painters will skip the purple from going from that yellowy and orange into the blue, and they'll mix the blue into the yellow, and it gets green. And that doesn't.
Yeah.
That's not the way it works out there.
Yep.
You got
They
to
go the yellow into the purple and get brown.
get brown. Yep. and unless that's what you want, and you're after that, well, no. But if you're after the truth to nature of a sunrise or sunset sort of look, you know what I mean? Then that's another story. So,
I'll have to try to convince myself that is what I'm going for. I'm going for turd brown out there in my skies.
Well, paint clouds like that. Like I think that's one of my many brain dump sketches is turd clouds. Right? Big brown lumps in the sky. You almost see those cumulus look to them, you know what I'm saying? Somebody's going to paint that now that I said that. Watch. Truth to nature. That's the key word. When you're doing representationalism or realism, even if it's fantastic, the idea is to always go to nature. That's the big.
I'm going to ask you one more question, in a technical color question.
Yep.
So you've just explained to us that you make sure you pass through those spectrum colors and you don't make the far jump.
Yeah.
Now, are there particular shades and colors that will mix better or blend better, or are they pretty much the same across the board?
Well, you got to. The rule is coming back to the way the color wheel works mainly. I don't care what the hell those colors are.
Now, because some people, you'll mix a certain shade of blue, right? Like a cyan blue with a cad red, and you don't necessarily get purple. You kind of get gray.
Yeah. I don't do that. I go to purple. I use purple out of the tube.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because.
Yep.
What?
Cat.
What's it about?
I just don't want him to jump into
He's going to jump into my cake.
He's going to jump into your cake.
Clyde, our cat, is here, and he's going to jump into sometimes Clyde jumps into my palette and he gets it all over his feet. And then he leaps onto the floor, and it's like, you know.
Yes. And
Anyway,
you got kitty prints across the tile.
the thing about it is making sure you go through the right sequence of colors for it not to turn to mud. And
Yep.
again, the only thing I can keep repeating about that is the spectrum or the color wheel. Just
Yep.
look at it and see the way those colors progress.
You know, there was a good book that I picked up for a friend a long time ago. It was called Yellow or Blue and Yellow Don't Make Green.
Yeah.
And in that book, it was very specific, like of throwing away labels and recognizing shades. Like you might have a blue green, or you're going to have a yellow green, and things like that. Or, with your reds, there's very magenta based reds.
Yep.
And very orange based reds.
Yep.
And an orange based red isn't necessarily going to mix great with all purples.
No. Again, it's the same concept of the spectrum. Making sure that there's a right sequence to that stuff.
Yep.
That's all. It's scientific in a way,
Yes. So Elijah's saying he can't hear.
What do you mean he can't hear?
That's a great question. Because I can hear you and you can hear me because you answered me. So
there's no sound coming?
Well, there's got to be sound coming because we're talking. So if no one else can hear, well, then you're not going to hear my question.
No, somebody.
Yeah, we got other people chiming in that they can't or that they can hear. So it's something on Elijah's end. All right. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Gene can hear.
We're all good, Greg. We're
all
Greg.
good.
Tell Keith that YouTube took down the
Oh, this is cool. So we've got a guy who's handles space art by Christopher Dole, who chimes in that he's painting along. He's painting his own thing and listening to the stream at the same time. So
oh,
that's
yeah?
pretty cool.
That's great. What should I tell Keith, Gene?
Tell Keith that YouTube took down the Maryland video.
Gene said YouTube took down the Maryland video. I painted a picture of Marilyn Monroe, and from an old photo that she's nude, and I guess what? Well, you know more about that stuff, censorship, than I do.
Yeah, but you had the star pasties on her, so I'm not sure why they would censor a painting that was censored. But I guess they did. It's amazing the videos of actual humans doing things that should, well,
right.
I won't comment about that, but they're actual human bodies showing off on the platform. But
and they get away with
painting.
it. Huh.
Yeah, there's a censored painting on the platform, and then they take the video down.
Oh, come on, Keith. You and Greg could do an entire show just on censorship of original art. And God forbid we should see a nipple. Let's not see a nipple.
Oh, no. Well, I always say that with that, St. Nicholas comes through and has to stick little pasties on,
But you put pasties.
Like, nipples are forbidden. No nipples. Nipples will drive young boys mad. Humans are a humorous lot.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Did Adam and Eve have nipple covers? I wonder, you know, it's like
Eventually,
eventually
yeah.
they did fig leaves, right? But were the nipples covered? That's the question. We know the other parts were covered, but how about nipples?
All right, Greg, go back to
Well,
He
do
says go
we?
back to the painting.
Maybe just the nipples were covered and everything else was left alone.
That's a theological discussion. So we're talking
Yeah.
about. We should have a show on theology and art. I mean, we could do that.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of. Yeah, well,
Man,
whatever.
I'm cracking up about Saint Nicholas. You know? It's like I can't get that one out of my head.
Well,
Oh,
can
man.
you see him? He sneaks around with little. Well, I got him right here. This is what we used. Excuse me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It blends into the shirt, the little star,
Oh, here.
right? Or
This is what right there. Bada boom.
well,
Guys.
as we're talking about this, so that people know what we're referencing, and I guess we'll put up a more clearly censored version later. But you have a painting of Marilyn Monroe that's going up up for auction in April. April 14th, I believe, is when the auction goes live.
Yes.
Gotta have rockandroll.com. So the video was to announce that auction coming up. So we'll see what we could do about getting that back up. And then as soon as all the links on Gotta Have Rock and Roll are live, we're going to put all that press release out for everybody so they can view the painting and bid on it. And hopefully someone will buy it, right?
Well, I hope so. I mean, well, that's what it's up for sale. But I think that's bizarre. I mean, if you go look at the Sistine ceiling, for God's sakes, I mean, give me a break.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But, I mean, it had stars on it. It did have
It
stars.
did. It had stars.
It
Yeah.
was covered.
These are. I said these are the very stars that were on it. You know? Like I like these. They're nice because they sparkle.
Yes.
You know, they're cool.
It just makes it appropriate.
Yeah.
Now, did you have those sparkly stars just laying around?
Yes, Gene had. Well, when we would do shows with my pinup art, we would have to bring the stars with us, depending on what holiday it was. I forgot what the stars were used for. We also had hearts near Valentine's Day. You could use those. Those are kind of cool. And Gene had a whole box filled with that stuff from previous shows that we have done. You know.
Yes. You're used to being censored and coming prepared.
Yes. God forbid you show nipples.
Yes.
I think we're too.
So
anyway, whatever.
Wait, what were you saying?
Nothing. That's over.
Moving on. So I as of right now, we have no idea when the project you're working on is going to be announced, like what it's for or anything like that. But when we're allowed to make that announcement and to put the word out, we most certainly will do that. So everybody, make sure you kind of pay attention to the YouTube channel. And if you haven't signed up for our email list, you might want to, because all the time Gene is coming up with, different promotions and different sales and things like that for all the merch and work. So if you go to spiderwebart.
Keith went out.
Okay. Then
you go to spiderwebart.com.
Yeah.
Are you still talking?
You all right there, Greg?
Yeah, you cut out.
Oh, no. I was telling people to sign up for the mailing list.
Yeah, and then you cut out.
Okay, did you hear any of that?
Just the beginning of it, so you should go through it all over again.
Okay, I was saying to everybody who's watching and listening and who might watch in the future, if you haven't signed up for the spiderwebart.com mailing list, it's not a bad idea to do so. We'll keep everybody posted to, like, when this project is officially announced, to, Gene coming up with different deals and sales on original art and on the art books and the 10 signs and all that stuff. So if you go to spiderwebart.com, little thing pops up to ask if people want to join the mailing list. It's not a bad idea to get on that thing. And because we, again, not announcing it quite yet, but coming up in the very, very, very near future, Gene has an awesome special deal planned for.
Awesome.
I will say that it involves original art by you, Greg. That's going to
Okay.
be in this deal. So people should
Oh,
sign
I
up
don't even
and
know about that.
keep an eye out for it.
Oh, why'd you
All
tell
right.
him? He didn't even know. That's not fair.
I don't even know what you're talking about. See that they sneak up on me and do this stuff.
Yeah. So everybody who's watching, if you like watching Greg paint, if you like this kind of thing, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share it with all your friends. Just help get the word out there, because as we said last week, you really enjoy doing these things, and especially since you're not able to get out and do the comic convention circuit,
Yep,
this is your way of interacting with your fans.
exactly. Yes, I would like.
So,
I like questions. I like people to ask questions and see if we can answer them. That's cool. I
Yep.
enjoy that.
So, Keith, can I just interject something here to anybody who's listening who can't see me, which is great. I want to let you know, Greg and I really miss the conventions. We usually do 6 a year. We really missed them last year. And unfortunately, we're going to really miss them again this year, because we've informed the conventions that we were scheduled to do that we won't be coming because we're both high risk. And we're hoping to God that we're going to get to see all of you next year. But this is just kind of like a heads up that even though some conventions may happen this year, we won't be there. So if you do want to get a commission from Greg, whether it's a blackboard or a painting or even a finished sketch, you can contact me at the gallery, where my email address is Jean, Jean, at spiderwebart.com. And that's actually a good place also to send questions for Greg, because I read my emails way more often than he does.
Which is never.
So, Christopher, to answer your question, Greg uses acrylic paints exclusively.
Yeah, I love the dry time of it. I tried oils once and I couldn't stand the long dry time. It depends on what you get used to. And I used to paint in casein, opaque watercolor, and then discovered acrylic and then just switched to that.
And to be specific, Christopher, you said Christopher was his name? He uses Liquitex heavy body acrylics. I know because I'm the one who buys them.
That's right.
You have other questions, Keith?
Yeah, well, Alan mentions he tried to pull up the live stream on his work computer and it's age restricted. Well, we do have to put that it is that we're not making it for children. That's the only
Right.
that we put on it. It's part of the YouTube rules that if you are making something for kids, then you have to go under very, very strict guidelines. So we have to let them know that it's not for kids. So that might be what's affecting your the work computer. And
sorry, guys, because if there's any kids out there, we curse occasionally on this.
Well, not often.
Not often, but occasionally, and I guess that's a no-no.
The main swear word is Butterfinger. Wasn't that in the Christmas story? I swear that when he was down there fighting with the furnace in a Christmas Story, the fantastic film.
That's you're sorry, Greg.
No.
I'm a little bit of a Christmas Story aficionado.
He doesn't say that.
And it's not when he's in the furnace.
Ah,
after the wife has broken the lamp
ah.
and he's picking it up to carry it out. Now, you think he says Butterfinger, and I think he says not a finger. Not a finger.
Oh, really?
I like Butterfinger because it reminds me of the candy bar that I used to like as a kid, you know?
You're a nutcase.
Ah, the old man's eyes boggled, overcome by art.
On that note, I think you should end for today.
All right. All right, Greg. I'm gonna sign out because I gotta go take care of my chickens, man.
All right.
But if you're gonna keep painting, enjoy the rest of your evening, sir. And
Thank
bye,
you.
Gene. I will see you in the morning. Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Keith.
Goodbye.
See you
Keith.
next week.
Yep.
Goodbye, everyone. Everybody stay safe.